left to die on her own, the little alien girl. Wept until the most feared warlord fed her. Kyle hit the obsidian floor, ribs screaming. The impact winded him, the stench of sulfur and cooked rock filling his lungs. Red light pulsed from veins of magma running through the arena walls, casting long, dancing shadows. He pushed himself up, spitting blood, a grimace on his face. "Well, this is just fucking peachy," he muttered, glancing at the towering armored figures of the Archon elders. They sat on a raised platform, their ancient, multi-lensed eyes fixed on him, judging. He was a jaded bounty hunter, a loner since the vagabond's kiss went down, but never had he been a ritual sacrifice. Not until these xenophobic bastards dragged him from his derelict ship, claiming some ancient prophecy. "The off-worlder displays defiance," one elder rumbled, its voice like grinding stones. Its gaze felt heavy, examining him as if he were a particularly irritating specimen. "Defiance?" Kyle scoffed, wiping his mouth with the back of his hand. "You call this a trial? This is just kidnapping with extra steps and a shitty light show." He scanned the audience, a sea of silent angular forms. Most were armed, their chitinous armor reflecting the lava glow. Then his gaze snagged on her. She sat a few rows back, cloaked, her form slender but poised, radiating an almost predatory stillness. Her skin, where he could glimpse it beneath her hood, seemed to shimmer with a metallic sheen, not unlike the ore they'd dragged him over. Her eyes, even from this distance, held an intensity that cut through the arena's oppressive heat. She wasn't looking at the elders. She was looking at him. "His spirit is unbroken, even in chains," another elder observed, more a statement than a question. Such a raw specimen, a challenge indeed. Kyle flexed his wrists, testing the plasma cuffs that bit into his skin. Useless. He tried to pick them with a splinter of rock from the floor earlier, but they were beyond his usual tech. He was utterly disarmed, stripped of his blaster, his vibro knife, even his emergency stims. He was a piece of meat waiting for the butcher, and he hated being anyone's meat. "You planning on serving me with a side of lava fries? Or is there a point to all this dramatic bullshit?" Kale snarled. He felt a familiar anger simmer. It was the same anger that had driven him since his crew died, the one that made him take suicidal jobs and spit in the face of impossible odds. He wasn't going to beg. He wasn't going to break. Not here. Not for these bug-eyed pricks. A sudden stir rippled through the audience. The cloaked figure rose, moving with an effortless grace that spoke of coiled power. She stalked forward, her gaze never leaving Kale's. The elders shifted, their posture stiffening, almost deferential. She was no mere spectator. Her presence commanded respect, or perhaps fear. She stopped at the edge of the arena, looking down at him. Her hood fell back slightly, revealing a face of sharp, elegant angles, framed by dark, sleek hair-like tendrils. Her eyes were multifaceted, like polished obsidian, and they held a depth that made Kale's skin prickle. She was beautiful, in a dangerous alien way that made his gut twist. He hated that feeling. "He is mine," she declared, her voice a low, resonant purr that somehow carried over the arena's ambient hum. It wasn't a question. It was a decree. The elders hesitated, then bowed their massive heads. "Empress Xylos, your claim is unexpected." "Empress?" Kale's eyebrows shot up. Well, shit. He'd just insulted a queen. His life was getting progressively more interesting and infinitely more complicated. He still had the plasma cuffs. He still had no weapons. And now he had a literal empress who had apparently just claimed him like some prize cattle. He could feel the eyes of the entire arena on him, a mixture of awe and morbid curiosity. The heat from the lava seemed to intensify, pressing down on him, and Kale knew with a certainty that chilled him despite the inferno, that his defiance had just bought him something far worse than a quick death. It had bought him her. Xylos stepped into the arena, her movements fluid, predatory. She was taller than Kale had initially thought, easily a head above his 6 feet, her body undeniably curvy, built for strength and speed. The metallic sheen of her skin shimmered in the lava light as she shed her cloak, revealing a form-fitting, segmented suit of dark armor that hugged her powerful frame. It looked ceremonial, but Kyle knew instinctively it could withstand a direct plasma hit. She wasn't just beautiful. She was lethal. She moved towards him slowly, deliberately, like a predator stalking its prey. Kyle held his ground, his glare unwavering. Empress, huh? So, Your Majesty, what exactly does he is mine entail? Am I your new pet, or are we skipping straight to the main course? He challenged, his voice dripping with sarcasm. He needed to keep talking, keep moving, even if it was just with his mouth. It was a reflex, a defense mechanism honed over years of scraping by. Zilo stopped a few paces from him, her multifaceted eyes raking over his body, a slow, appraising gaze that made his skin crawl with a mixture of discomfort and something disturbingly like fascination. You speak with fire, off-worlder, she purred, the sound almost a growl. It is a rare trait among the compliant. My claim entails a test, a trial of strength and spirit, the trial of the obsidian embrace. You will submit to its terms, or you will perish. Submit? Not really my style, princess, Kyle retorted, trying to gauge her intent. Was this a fight to the death? A show? A perverse game? He'd faced a lot of things, but an alien empress demanding his submission was a new one. And what happens if I submit? Do I get a gold star, a pat on the head? Her lips, a darker shade than her skin, curved into something that was not quite a smile, more a bearing of intent. If you submit, you become claimed, bound, my property. You will serve my will. Her gaze dropped, lingering for a moment on his crotch before flicking back up to his eyes. And you will learn what true pleasure is, human. My people do not waste valuable resources. Kyle scoffed, a genuine laugh escaping him. Pleasure? You just said I'd be your property. Sounds more like a bad vacation rental agreement to me. He felt a flush creep up his neck. The way she looked at him, the undertone of her words. It was disturbingly direct. No pretense, no coy glances. Just raw, confident desire mixed with overwhelming dominance. One of the elders, sensing her intent, shuffled forward. Empress Xylos, the ritual requires a demonstration. The off-worlder must prove himself worthy to even be claimed. The first sunder, at minimum. Xylos waved a dismissive hand. The formalities bore me, elder. He is worthy. His defiance is his worth. But a demonstration? Very well. She turned back to Kale, her stance shifting, muscles coiling. You will fight me, off-worlder. Here, now, and you will understand the true meaning of power. Kyle's eyes narrowed. Fight her? Cuffed? With no weapon? You serious? This is a joke, right? I'm bound, you're a goddamn walking tank. This isn't a fight, it's an execution. It is a privilege, she countered, her voice hardening. To face a true empress in the ritual arena. Many would sacrifice all for such an honor. Your kind, it seems, lacks appreciation for such things. Or perhaps, she stepped closer, her scent, something like ozone and sharp minerals filling his nostrils. You merely fear what you cannot control. Her hand shot out, grabbing his forearm, her grip surprisingly delicate yet firm. She tugged him forward, pulling him off balance. Kale instinctively resisted, his muscles tensing. Hey, watch it, lady. We just met. You are already mine to touch, she stated, as if stating the most obvious fact in the universe. Her eyes glinted. And soon, you will be mine to break. She released his arm, then struck, a swift, open-handed blow to his chest that slammed him back against the obsidian wall. The air rushed out of his lungs in a painful gasp. He slid to the floor, coughing, tasting dust and the coppery tang of his own blood. This wasn't just talk. This was a direct physical challenge, delivered with a casual power that made his bones ache. He knew then that this empress wasn't playing. She was testing him, breaking him down, demanding his submission not just in word but in body. And he was going to make it goddamn difficult for her. Kyle pushed himself up, spitting a glob of blood onto the gleaming obsidian floor. His chest burned where her palm had struck him, a bruising heat already spreading. All right, I get it. You hit like a goddamn freight train. Impressive. Now are we gonna dance, or are you just gonna keep slapping me around? He feigned a wince, then straightened, a dangerous spark in his eyes. He knew he was outmatched, but he wasn't going to just lie down. This was a dominance display, and if she wanted him to submit, she'd have to earn it. The hard way. Xylo circled him, her movements fluid and economical, like a hunting cat. Such a persistent spirit. Good. Weakness offers no challenge. She gestured to the elders. Release his bindings. Let us see if his defiance is more than mere words. The elders exchanged glances, then reluctantly complied. With a soft hiss, the plasma cuffs on Kyle's wrists deactivated, falling to the floor. He rubbed his chafed skin, testing the return of full circulation. His hands felt strangely light without the oppressive weight. He still had no weapons, but at least he could move. Well, look at that, Kale drawled, cracking his knuckles. Now it's a fair fight, almost. He dropped into a ready stance, his eyes never leaving her. He wasn't trained for alien combat, but he knew how to brawl, how to exploit openings, how to survive. That was his specialty. Xylos charged, a blur of metallic sheened skin and dark armor. She moved faster than anything Kale had ever encountered, a lethal grace that defied her mass. He braced, instinctively throwing a block, but she wasn't going for a direct punch. She spun, her legs sweeping low, aiming for his knees. He jumped, just barely avoiding the crippling blow, and she flowed into another strike, an elbow snapping towards his head. Kyle ducked, feeling the wind of it against his scalp, and launched a desperate counter, a wild punch aimed for her midsection. She caught his fist in her hand, her grip like steel. He grunted, surprised by her strength. "Slow, human," she purred, her face inches from his, her multifaceted eyes glinting with amusement. Predictable. Then she twisted, yanking his arm, and Kale found himself flung across the arena, skidding on the rough obsidian. His shoulders screamed in protest. He rolled, scrambling back to his feet, panting. "Predictable, huh? You're just full of surprises, aren't you?" He could taste the irony in his own voice. This was less a fight and more a high-speed lesson in humility. "I am the Empress of the Xylothi," she stated, as if that explained everything. "My people have mastered the arts of war and claiming you are but a crude example of your species." "Crude but effective, Empress," Kyle retorted, charging her again, feinting left, then driving a knee up for her groin. It was a dirty move, a human move. She sidestepped with effortless grace, her hand a blur, striking him across the face. Stars exploded behind Kyle's eyes, and he reeled, stumbling back, his jaw throbbing. That was definitely going to leave a mark. "Your biology is fascinatingly vulnerable," Xylos observed, a hint of something like curiosity in her tone. "Such fragile organs, yet your spirit remains undaunted. Why do you continue to resist what is inevitable?" "Because that's what we do," Kale gasped, shaking his head to clear the haze. "Humans. We're stubborn as hell, and I don't like being told what to do, especially by a damn alien who thinks property is a compliment." He wiped a smear of blood from his lip. "You want me, you gotta take me, not just beat me senseless." Her gaze sharpened, a new intensity in her eyes. "Oh, you challenge me? You believe you can withstand the full force of my claiming?" She took a step closer, her body language shifting, becoming even more overtly sexual. "This arena is only the beginning of the trial, human. The true test comes when my will binds your body, and your spirit acknowledges its master." She reached out, her fingers tracing a line down his bruised chest right over his heart. Her touch sent a jolt through him, a strange blend of pain and an undeniable, unwelcome heat. "You have fire, Kyle. I will either tame it, or it will consume us both." Her voice dropped to a near whisper, a raw, commanding intimacy. "And when I am done, you will beg for more." Kyle stared at her, breath catching in his throat. This wasn't just a physical fight anymore. This was a primal challenge, naked and demanding, and a part of him, the desperate, survival-driven part, felt a thrill of pure, unadulterated danger. Kale stood rigid under her touch, the heat radiating from her fingers burning through his shirt, searing his skin. "Begging isn't really my style, Empress," he rasped, his voice rough. "Maybe you'll be begging when I finally figure out where to hit you." He tried to shove her hand away, but her grip tightened, surprisingly strong. She was right. His spirit was undaunted, but his body was screaming for a break. Xylos leaned in closer, her unique scent, sharp minerals, something feral, and a hint of something floral, flooding his senses. Such delightful bravado. It will make your surrender all the sweeter. Her gaze dropped again, this time to his groin, then back up to his eyes, a predatory glint. You misunderstand, human. Begging for release is a sign of ultimate pleasure, not weakness. A common misinterpretation among the uninitiated. Your people are so literal. Kyle felt a flush crawl up his neck. Literal? Lady, when I say fuck off, I don't mean please stay for tea and crumpets. There's no subtext. Just fuck off. She paused, tilting her head. Fuck off, she repeated slowly, testing the words on her tongue. Does this fuck off involve physical intimacy? A unique greeting, perhaps? Is it an invitation to claim? Kale stared at her, then burst out laughing, a short, ragged sound. No, Empress, it's not an invitation. It means I want you to go away, preferably far, far away, before I accidentally say something else that gets me killed. The humor was dark, desperate, but it was there. This was the awkward sexual misunderstanding checkbox being vigorously ticked. The elders, watching from their perch, cleared their throats, their multi-lensed eyes seeming to narrow. Empress Xylos, one intoned. The full trial must be initiated. The arena is but the first phase. The rite of unveiling awaits. Xylos straightened, releasing Kyle. Her expression turned imperious. Indeed, my patience for these preliminaries wanes. Take him to my chambers. Prepare him for the unveiling. His body is mine, his spirit still defiant. That will change. Kyle's eyes widened. Her chambers? Hold on, what the hell is the rite of unveiling? He tried to protest as two massive armored guards, silent and imposing, moved to flank him. You will find out, Xylos said, a knowing smirk playing on her lips. It is where true understanding begins, where the bond is forged or broken, and where your fuck off will gain a new, far more accurate meaning. She turned, sweeping away, her dark cloak swirling behind her, leaving Kyle alone with the two silent giants. He was hustled out of the arena, through dark, mineral-hewn tunnels that thrummed with the planet's volcanic energy. The air grew heavier, warmer, smelling less of sulfur and more of something primal, earthy. His head still spun from the blow, his body aching, but a new current of apprehension ran through him. Her chambers, the rite of unveiling. He had a very bad feeling about where this was going. He'd signed up for bounty hunting, not alien mating rituals. This was way, way outside his pay grade. They stopped before a massive carved door, glowing faintly with an internal light. The guards pushed him through. The room beyond was cavernous, yet surprisingly intimate. Soft, pulsing light, not from lava, but from glowing crystal formations set into the walls, illuminated a plush sleeping platform, a pool of shimmering dark water, and various strange, ritualistic implements on carved stone pedestals. The air was thick with the same unique feral scent he'd noticed on Xylos, much more concentrated now. He was in her den, and the Empress was waiting. She stood by the pool, shedding the last of her armor, revealing the sleek metallic sheen of her skin beneath. Her body was every bit as powerful and curvy as he'd glimpsed, but now, fully exposed, it was also undeniably erotic. A primal fear, mixed with a very unwanted, very human arousal, clawed at him. Shit, this is it. Kyle swallowed, his throat suddenly dry. His eyes traced the lines of her body, the elegant curve of her hips, the powerful swell of her thighs, the firm, high breasts that pulsed with a faint internal glow, almost like bioluminescence, but not quite, more like reflected heat. Her skin was a marvel, the metallic sheen of it catching and refracting the soft ambient light from the crystals, making her appear sculpted from living bronze. He fought the urge to stare, to trace the patterns on her skin, to feel the heat radiating from her. His rational mind screamed danger, but his primal instincts, the ones he usually kept buried under layers of cynicism and self-preservation, were roaring. Xylos turned, her multifaceted eyes fixing on him, a slow, appraising gaze that stripped him bare. She was utterly unashamed, utterly confident in her nakedness. Come, human, she commanded, her voice softer now, a sensual invitation that still carried the weight of absolute authority. The unveiling begins. You will shed your inhibitions, just as I shed my armor. Kale didn't move. Shed my inhibitions? Lady, you're about to unveil me all right. What exactly is this ritual? Are we talking a spa day? Or something more invasive? His sarcasm was a thin shield, barely holding back the tide of apprehension and raw desire. He felt his blood heating, a primal response he hated. She chuckled, a low, throaty sound that resonated in the large chamber. Invasive? Perhaps by your limited standards. We speak of merging, human, of the deepest resonance. She gestured to the pool. The waters cleanse, the spirits prepare, remove your garments. Now, Kyle hesitated. Look, I get it. You're the empress, I'm the captive. But I'm not just going to strip down because you tell me to. I prefer a little foreplay, or at least a please and thank you. Her head tilted, a flicker of irritation in her eyes. Please? Thank you? These are courtesies, are they not? Not commands. And I command. You have chosen the path of defiance, human. It offers no courtesies. She took a step towards him, her movements fluid, captivating. Do not make me undress you myself. You will find my touch less gentle, more demanding, should you prolong this. Cale's jaw tightened. He knew she wasn't bluffing. He could feel the raw power emanating from her, the sheer will. He started unbuttoning his battered jacket, then pulled off his shirt. His chest was still bruised, but his abs were lean, defined from years of fighting and running. He tossed the shirt aside, feeling the cool air against his skin, then the sudden, shocking heat from the room's ambient temperature. Xylos's eyes lingered on his torso, then moved lower, a slow, appreciative scan. Much like your spirit, your body is well honed. Not for grace, but for endurance, for raw power. My people value such things. He felt himself harden under her gaze, a humiliating biological response. God damn it, Kyle, not now. Stay focused. Glad I meet your high standards, he muttered, pulling off his boots, then his pants. He stood naked before her, feeling exposed, vulnerable, yet a strange, defiant spark still flickered within him. He was not broken. Not yet. Good, Xylos purred, her eyes fixed on his erection. Your body at least understands the primal call. Now, enter the water. It will prepare you for the bonding. She turned and gracefully slid into the dark, shimmering pool, the water parting for her sleek form. She submerged herself, then rose, her upper body gleaming, water sluicing from her metallic sheened skin. Her breasts, full and heavy, floated just beneath the surface. Her gaze held his, demanding. Kael hesitated for a moment longer, then walked to the edge of the pool. The water looked inviting, though the heat radiating from it was intense. He stepped in, slowly, feeling the warmth envelop him, a soothing balm on his bruised body. He waded deeper until the water reached his waist. He was only a few feet from her now. The tension in the air was palpable, thick with unspoken desire and raw, animalistic intent. This wasn't just physical proximity. This was forced, charged intimacy, an escalating power struggle with only one inevitable end. He could feel it in his bones, and a part of him, the deeply buried part that had been starved for real connection, felt a terrifying, exhilarating anticipation. The water was impossibly warm, a liquid embrace that relaxed Kael's aching muscles even as the tension coiled tighter in his gut. The faint glow from the crystals overhead cast shimmering patterns on the dark water, making Xylos appear almost ethereal, yet undeniably, powerfully real. She watched him, her eyes unblinking, unreadable. Closer, human, she commanded, her voice a low purr. The bonding ritual requires proximity and a sharing of essence. Kael waded forward until he was directly in front of her, the water between their hips barely a foot wide. He could feel the heat radiating from her body, the sensual pull of her unique scent. His erection, stubbornly persistent, felt painfully obvious. Essence, huh? You gonna read my tea leaves, or are we getting to the point? He quipped, a desperate attempt at maintaining some control, some distance. Xylos chuckled, a husky, sensual sound. Your tea leaves are already quite legible, Kael. Your body speaks a language your words deny. And yes, we are getting to the point of no return. She reached out, her hand gliding through the water, her fingers closing around his engorged shaft. Kyle gasped, a jolt of pure shock and raw pleasure shooting through him. Her touch was firm, knowing, yet surprisingly gentle. Whoa. Hey. No, no warning shot there, Empress. Kyle stammered, his eyes widening. He tried to pull back, but her grip was surprisingly strong, holding him captive. Warning shots are for cowards, she scoffed, her thumb stroking the sensitive tip of him. I claim what is mine. You are claimed, Kyle. This is merely the initiation, the acknowledgement. Her gaze was intense, burning into his. Your body already acknowledges me. Your mind will follow. She squeezed him gently, the sensation overwhelming. Kyle felt his knees threaten to buckle. He clamped his jaw shut, fighting the groan that tried to escape. This was beyond anything he'd experienced. Her confidence, her absolute ownership of the moment, was both terrifying and incredibly arousing. God damn it, Xylos, he choked out, forcing himself to meet her gaze. You played dirty. I play to win, she corrected, her voice dropping to a seductive whisper. She leaned forward, her breasts brushing against his chest, the soft, cool contact sending another wave of heat through him. And I always win. Soon you will understand the thrill of true surrender, Kale, the profound ecstasy of having all resistance stripped away. She began to stroke him with a slow, deliberate rhythm, her fingers exploring every inch of his length, her touch sending shivers down his spine. Kale's breath hitched. He closed his eyes, fighting the onslaught of sensation. He was losing control, fast. His mind, usually a fortress of cynicism and sarcasm, was crumbling under her relentless assault. This is not how I usually get claimed, he managed to gasp, the words barely coherent. Indeed, she murmured, her voice husky with desire. Your previous experiences were surely inadequate. My people do not waste time with feigned disinterest. When we desire, we take, and when we take, we bind. This is the truth of the obsidian embrace. Her other hand rose, trailing over his bruised chest, her fingers dipping into the shallow pool of water, then tracing the contours of his nipple. He arched into her touch, a silent groan escaping his lips. His hips instinctively pressed forward, seeking more. The fight was draining out of him, replaced by a desperate, burning need. He wanted to push her away, to reassert control, but his body was betraying him, crying out for her touch, for this intense, forbidden pleasure. He was a prisoner in his own skin, and she was the merciless warden. What the hell are you doing to me? He demanded, the words raw, strained. I am making you mine, Kale, she whispered, her face inches from his. Her eyes, multifaceted and dark, seemed to pull him into their depths. And you are beginning to enjoy it. Admit it. Say it. Say you want me, human. Say you crave this claiming. Her voice was a hypnotic command, echoing in the cavernous chamber, amplified by the pulsing heat of the water. He was lost in her gaze, lost in her touch, lost in the overwhelming tide of sensation. His resolve shattered, breaking into a million pieces. Kyle's breath hitched, every nerve ending firing. He could feel the blood thrumming through his veins, hot and heavy, her fingers around his cock, the soft brush of her breasts against his chest, the intensity of her multifaceted gaze. It was all a deliberate, masterful assault on his senses. He was being unraveled, piece by agonizing piece. God damn it, he gasped, the words ripped from him. I want... He couldn't force the words out, couldn't give her the full victory. Not yet. Xylos chuckled, a low, guttural sound of triumph. Not yet, Kale? Your body screams otherwise, your defiant mind will follow. She leaned back slightly, her grip on him firm, her gaze fixed on his eyes. The unveiling is not merely of bodies. It is of spirits. You are a predator, human. You stalk. You take, so do I. This is a recognition, a matching of wills, a symphony of desires. She pulled him forward, her mouth capturing his. Her lips were firm, cool, yet shockingly soft, parting to allow her tongue to duel with his. The kiss was deep, primal, a fierce claiming that left him breathless. He tasted her, a unique tang of minerals and something wild, something profoundly alien, yet strangely intoxicating. His hands, unbidden, rose to cup her face, his thumbs tracing the sharp angles of her cheekbones, feeling the smooth, metallic sheen of her skin. He returned the kiss with a ferocity that matched her own, his tongue battling hers, a desperate assertion of his own will, even as he was being utterly consumed. Her free hand slipped to the small of his back, pressing him closer, molding their lower bodies together in the warm water. He felt her wet heat against his engorged shaft, a tantalizing pressure that made him groan deep in his throat. "You burn," she whispered, pulling back just enough to look into his eyes, her breath hot on his lips. "A fire I will ignite into an inferno." Without warning, she guided his erection to her slick entrance, a soft, wet pressure against his tip. Kale sucked in a sharp breath. "Xylos, are we doing this?" The question was stupid, rhetorical. His body answered for him, arching forward, desperate for release, for completion. "We are doing this," she affirmed, her voice husky, her eyes gleaming with ancient desire. "This is the true combat, Kale, the ritual of the obsidian embrace. Here now, I will claim you utterly." With a powerful thrust of her hips, she took him in, a deep, full invasion that made him cry out, a mixture of pain and profound, shattering pleasure. He was buried deep inside her, slick and hot, stretched to his limits. He gasped, his eyes squeezed shut, his head falling back against the smooth stone of the pool. He gripped her hips, his fingers digging into the strong, curved flesh, pulling her impossibly closer. He felt the intense friction, the pulsing heat, the sheer overwhelming sensation of being utterly consumed. She moved against him slowly at first, a deliberate grind that forced him deeper, then faster, a rhythm that quickly became urgent, primal. Kyle opened his eyes, meeting her gaze. Her eyes were no longer unreadable. They burned with a raw, fierce passion, a primal hunger that mirrored his own. Her breath came in ragged gasps, her lips parted slightly, revealing a flash of sharp, elegant teeth. He plunged into her again and again, his own grunts and groans mingling with her soft, alien sounds of pleasure. Every thrust was a challenge, every retreat a desperate craving for more. He was no longer thinking, no longer analyzing. He was pure instinct, pure sensation, utterly lost in the rhythm of their bodies. His climax built quickly, an intense, unbearable pressure. As he felt the first wave begin to crest, a strange sensation bloomed in his mind, a sudden, vivid image of a swirling, dark nebula, of distant stars, of alien landscapes he'd never seen. Her mind, raw and open, was briefly connected to his, flooding him with ancient desires, with the weight of her claim, with the fierce pride of her people. And then, as he cried out, spilling his seed deep inside her, she bit down hard on his shoulder, a sharp, searing pain that made him roar. It wasn't a casual bite. It was a deep, deliberate mark. He felt the wet warmth of his own blood mixing with hers as she held him, shuddering, her body convulsing around him in her own powerful orgasm. The ritual was complete. The claim was made, and he was irrevocably, utterly bound. Kyle slumped against Xylos, his body shuddering from the aftermath of his climax, the searing pain in his shoulder a stark reminder of her bite. He could feel the blood oozing from the fresh wound, mixing with the warm pool water. His mind was a chaotic swirl of pleasure, exhaustion, and a dawning, terrifying realization. He was marked, physically, undeniably marked, and that psychic surge, the nebula and the alien landscapes, felt like a direct link into her very essence. Xylos held him tight, her own body still trembling, her breath ragged against his neck. She was silent for a long moment, then pulled back, her multifaceted eyes fixing on his wounded shoulder. She licked the blood from his skin, her tongue rough, possessive. "It is done," she murmured, her voice husky, triumphant. "The blood mark. Now you are truly of my lineage, Kyle. My claimed, my bonded." Kyle pushed away slightly, enough to look at her, a bitter laugh escaping him. "Bonded? Is that what this is? You just bit me, Xylos. This isn't a goddamn engagement ring." He gestured weakly to his shoulder. The mark was already visible, a dark, bruised imprint of her teeth, blood still seeping from it. "It is far more binding than any ring, human," she stated, her expression serious, almost solemn. "It is the merging of essence, a permanent claim. Your biology accepts it. My people acknowledge it. You are now tied to me, body and spirit. This is the obsidian embrace. You resisted and now you are claimed. The victory is mine, the pleasure yours." He scoffed, a raw, bitter sound. "Pleasure? You just signed me up for something I don't understand, probably some ancient alien cult ritual, and branded me like cattle. This isn't pleasure, this is a goddamn hostile takeover. Before she could reply, the chamber door hissed open, and the two massive guards from the arena stood there, looking in. Behind them, Kale could glimpse the elders, their ancient faces grim. "Empress Xylos," one of the elders boomed, its voice thick with disapproval. "You have defiled the sacred rites. This was meant to be a simple demonstration of dominance, not a full claiming." Xylos's expression hardened, a dangerous glint in her eyes. She turned, her nude body still gleaming in the crystal light, utterly unashamed before her disapproving kin. "Defiled? I have elevated it. I have shown this off-worlder the true power of the obsidian embrace. He resisted, and I claimed him. His spirit is fierce, his body strong. He is a worthy bondmate." "Bondmate?" another elder sputtered, aghast. "This is an abomination, an unsanctioned union. He is an uncultured savage, a trespasser. He cannot be claimed by a blood mark." Xylos rose from the pool, water sluicing from her powerful form. She moved with an imperious grace that brooked no argument. Kale watched, fascinated and terrified, as she stalked towards the elders, her marked human in tow. "He has been claimed. The ritual is complete. The mark is upon him. His essence is mine. Your pronouncements are meaningless. He is mine. And those who challenge my claim, challenge me. And you know the consequences of that, elders." Her voice dropped to a low, dangerous growl, the underlying threat unmistakable. The elders recoiled, their ancient forms trembling. They knew her reputation. The savage empress. Xylos wasn't just a title. It was a warning. She had risen to power through brutal efficiency and an unyielding will. "But the prophecies," one elder stammered, recovering slightly. "The prophecy of the outsider requires purity, not a forced, unceremonious bonding." Xylos laughed, a harsh, mocking sound. "Purity. You cling to outdated dogma. The prophecy speaks of a catalyst. He is the catalyst, and now he is bound to me. His presence here will alter everything, just as foretold. You will accept it, or you will face the consequences of my wrath. Now leave us. The bondmate requires rest." The elders hesitated, then reluctantly backed away, their multi-lensed eyes still burning with outrage and fear. The guards followed, and the massive door hissed shut, plunging the chamber back into the intimate, pulsing glow of the crystals. Kyle stared at Xylos, his mind reeling. Bonded. Catalyst. Prophecy. This wasn't just a sexual encounter. This was a political earthquake, and he was inexplicably at the epicenter. His life had just gotten infinitely more complicated, and irrevocably tied to the savage empress. Kyle stared at the closed door, then back at Xylos, who stood, regal and unbowed, dripping water onto the polished stone floor. "Political earthquake, huh? So, let me get this straight. You just claimed me, against my will, in front of your disapproving Space Church elders, and now I'm part of some prophecy. What else did I miss while you were, claiming me?" His sarcasm was a shield, but it felt flimsy now, barely deflecting the sheer absurdity of his situation. Xylos walked back to the pool, retrieved a plush, dark fabric, and began drying her gleaming skin. "You missed nothing, Kyle. You were utterly present in the moment, as required." She tossed a similar fabric at him. "Dry yourself, and stop whining. This is a great honor, not a punishment. Though your kind struggles with concepts of beneficial coercion." "Beneficial coercion?" Kale scoffed, wrapping the alien cloth around his waist. "Lady, I just got bitten and mentally linked to your galactic empire. Pretty sure my benefits package is still missing a few zeros." He looked down at his shoulder. The mark was already beginning to scab, a dark, angry red. It throbbed with a dull ache. "The bond will strengthen," Xylos stated, watching him. "You will feel my emotions, my desires. I yours. It is a shared existence, and it will be invaluable for the trials ahead." She moved to a pedestal where a small, intricate flask rested. She poured a clear, shimmering liquid into a shallow bowl. "This will aid the healing and solidify the bond." She held it out to him. Kale eyed the bowl suspiciously. "What is it?" Something to turn me into a loyal pet? Or just another way to get me to submit? It is for health. And for truth, Xylos said, her voice firm. It contains the essence of our world's core. It will allow you to see the path ahead with clarity. Drink. He hesitated, then snatched the bowl from her hand. His options were limited. He could fight her, but he was naked, unarmed, and just learned she could probably snap him in half. Or he could play along, gather information, and figure out an escape. Survival instincts kicked in. He raised the bowl and drank. The liquid was warm, slightly sweet, with an underlying metallic taste that reminded him of her scent. As he swallowed, a strange warmth spread through his chest, not unlike the surge he'd felt during their climax. His mind felt clearer, sharper, and the ache in his shoulder lessened significantly. You still resist, Kale, Xylos said, her voice softer, almost mournful, as she watched him. Even now, your defiance is a strength, yes, but it is also a barrier against true connection. Kale looked at her, truly looked at her, his usual cynicism momentarily suspended. Connection? You think this thing we just did, this ritual, is connection? You literally forced me into it. Xylos stepped closer, her expression shifting, revealing a flicker of something raw, vulnerable that he hadn't seen before. My people know no other way, Kyle. Connection is dominance. Surrender is trust. It is the core of our culture. I chose you. From among the compliant, the weak. I chose you because of your fire. Because I believed you could meet my strength. Her gaze was intense. And now that you are marked, there is no turning back. For either of us, the elders wish to nullify this bond. They will try to kill you. They will try to challenge me. We are bound, Kyle. We fight together or we both perish. Kyle stared, absorbing her words. The sudden shift in her tone, the raw vulnerability in her eyes, caught him off guard. It wasn't the arrogant empress now. It was something else. A warrior queen, yes, but one who had made a choice, a dangerous gamble, and was now facing its consequences. He saw the truth in her eyes. The elders would come for him. They would try to invalidate her claim, her power, and if he wasn't with her, he was dead. Simple as that. His choice had been made for him, not by coercion, but by necessity. All right, he said, the word coming out rougher than he intended. So a claimed bondmate and prophecy catalyst it is. What's the plan, Empress? How do we survive this clusterfuck you just dragged me into? It wasn't surrender. It was acceptance, and a grim determination to survive. Together. Kale's words, gruff but resolute, seemed to soften something in Xylos. The flicker of vulnerability intensified for a brief moment, then was swiftly veiled by her usual commanding presence. She was a master of self-control, he realized. A queen, yes, but a survivor first. The plan, Kale, is simple. We consolidate our power. The elders believe they can invalidate my claim, that your presence, an uncultured savage, defiles the prophecy. She scoffed, a dismissive sound. They see only weakness. I see potential. You will be presented to my full court, not as a captured trespasser, but as my chosen bondmate. And together, we will show them the true meaning of power. The obsidian embrace is not just a sexual act, human. It is a declaration of unity, of strength. It is the ritual through which our leaders, our strongest, bind themselves. So I'm your public relations stunt? Kyle deadpanned, rubbing his shoulder. The healing liquid had numbed the pain, but the mark felt like a brand irrevocably linking him to her. And the faint, distant hum in his mind, like a resonance with her own thoughts, was unnerving. You are my proof, Xylos corrected, her voice firm. Proof that I choose strength over tradition. Proof that my lineage adapts, evolves. And proof that you, Kale, are now indispensable to my reign. She stepped closer, her hand reaching for his, her fingers intertwining with his own. Her touch, now that the immediate threat of violation was gone, felt different. Still powerful, but with an underlying current of fierce protection. The elders will seek to challenge my decision through combat, through ritual debates, and you, my bondmate, will stand beside me. You will be my shield. And when necessary, my blade. Kale snorted. Your blade? I'm good with a blaster, Empress, not exactly built for ceremonial duels, and definitely not for ritual debates. My best debate strategy usually involves kicking someone in the shins. Xylos chuckled, a genuine warm sound this time. Your unique methods are precisely why I chose you. Your unpredictability, your raw, untamed spirit. It is a refreshing contrast to the stifling traditions of my elders. She squeezed his hand. Do not worry, Kale. You will not fight alone, and your debate strategies might prove surprisingly effective against their pompous pronouncements. She looked at the blood mark on his shoulder, her expression softening slightly. The bond is young, but it is strong. It will grow, and with it your understanding of my world, of us. Kyle felt a strange warmth spread through him, not from the healing liquid but from her words. Us. It was a concept he hadn't entertained since his crew died. He'd been a loner, a drifter, trusting no one. Now he was inextricably linked to an alien empress, bound by an ancient ritual, and facing down an entire patriarchal council. It was insane. It was terrifying. And yet, looking at her, seeing the fierce determination in her eyes, the unexpected hint of vulnerability beneath her dominant exterior, a tiny spark of something new ignited within him. Maybe, just maybe, this wasn't the worst thing that had ever happened to him. Maybe for the first time in a long time, he wasn't entirely alone. He sighed, a long, weary exhalation. All right, Xylos, you dragged me into this goddamn mess, so you better have a plan for getting us out. And if this bond means I have to sit through any more of those ritual debates, you owe me a lifetime supply of the strongest alien liquor you've got. A genuine smile touched Xylos's lips, transforming her face into something truly breathtaking. A small price to pay, my bondmate. For the future. Now, rest. We have much to do, and tomorrow you will begin to truly understand what it means to be mine. Her touch was a silent promise, a new kind of power, both intimate and formidable, forging a path through the chaos. And for the first time, Kale felt a flicker of hope, dangerous and thrilling for what that future might hold.